Hi there folks, welcome to another clip here on my YouTube channel. Before I start with a new topic, I'd like to thank you very much for the last views, all the likes you left. On top of that, it's an invitation for you, of course, to do so again. Would be very much appreciated. Alright, let's have a look at the today's currency pair. That's the euro versus the Polish zloty. That's some kind of exotic from the world perspective. From the European and possibly German perspective here, it's one of our neighbors, and so the currency is possibly interesting for a couple of guys here as well. All right, before we get into more fundamentals, as always, I would invite you to have a look at the chart technical part right now. Folks, it's nothing about reinventing the wheel, so we will be looking at this Fibonacci analysis and usual being built by the platform here at the high from the end of March at 467.9475, going down to this one here, the low from 7th of June 21. This is the low at 443.9575. So these levels combined, as usually, you get the Fibonacci retracements. So the 23.6, 38.2, 61.8, and 76.4. And as you can see, made some comments in here. So the 61.8 level at 458, 459, very shy of that mark, is already tested. So has been tested. And I simply added some arrows, some possible moves to the upside here, and of course some reactions when trying to get to these levels. So you see this black line here as a possible entry zone for a short position. It's nothing like telling you you'll be short at this level. It's just something like approximately the middle of this 61.8, 76.4 level. So something where you could start with a short position. All right, if you take a look at the downside here, you got the relative strength index. We are at the daily picture, and just to show you a little bit of these reactions and kind of an easy interpretation of the relative strength index. When you see something like oversold territories, you possibly see these here, and overbought territories, as you see them here, is always something like a nice invitation to start a short position, and the other way around, to start with a long position. Being in favor of a short position is just a reason because we are right now close to be getting again at this overbought territory here, and the first reaction to the move to the upside to retest a little bit more of an overbought territory is something like a possible invitation to think about reshorting this kind of a currency pair. It's nothing for a long-term trade, something like holding this one over a couple of days, weeks, and furthermore. It's just something like trying to catch that move and just cash out after you earned enough pips after your entry and behind every kind of a cost. All right, let's have a look at the more fundamental data and let's check out here from this kind of information you get from the central bank, for example. All right, guys, let's have a look at a couple of fundamentals. So first of all, why is the euro versus the Polish zloty something like an exotic currency pair? Well, it is just due to the daily turnover. So if you just compare the daily turnover all in over with the spot transactions, worldwide currencies is shy of a mark of $2 trillion a day. So this is something where, of course, the US dollar has the major share, and the euro, I need to have a look at my cheat sheet here, is at 615.5 billion US dollars a day. So the share of the daily turnover is quite big. It's the second part after the dollar. If you compare that one with the Polish zloty with the daily turnover, this one is only 12.2 billion. So compare the euro 615.5 compared with 12.2 billion. So I think that is the reason you call it possibly more something like exotic. Nevertheless, it's kind of interesting because the current currency pair situation, I told you the stuff about the overbought territory right now is something where you could have a look on, where you could possibly find something like an entry zone for a couple of short setups. I'm not telling you something like long setups just because of the reason it looks like it is something like a bias to short the tops and try to pick up a couple of pips from a 1 or 2 or 3 day move, and that's it, and not to hold this kind of a currency too long. Nevertheless, it's kind of interesting. You got some strong numbers from Poland, so I was kind of surprised, I have to admit, that they obviously have a strong labor market even after that COVID crisis. And you see, for example, an unemployment rate which is moving around the 3% marker in this year and the next years to come, and possibly dipping in direction to that 5%. So that's quite impressive. On top of that, the GDP numbers and GDP projections are quite interesting. So you possibly see something like a 5% and direction 5.4% in the next 2 years to come. So this is nothing I just took out and from the air somewhere. This is central bank data, central bank projections. So GDP projections, unemployment rate projections, and for example CPI core inflation data, all taken from the Central Bank of Poland. You'll find that one quite easy via Google. On top of that, you will have a look at the CPI core inflation numbers and projections. So inflation projections are the problem, not only for the Polish zloty, but for a couple of other Eastern European countries, for example, like Romania, Hungary, the Czech Republic, and further down the road. So if you check that out for Poland, you will see that the CPI core inflation data is around 3.8 to 4%. So this is quite high, and this is one part of the problem, that the Polish zloty isn't that strong. It was a couple of years ago, for example. Of course, you all know we got the same problems. A bit of that from the Eurozone perspective. We got huge inflation numbers recently reported from the US, and one of the highest numbers in the last years, and more than a decade, and even shy of that marker from the 2008 financial crisis. So CPI core inflation data right now is truly a problem. It's kind of worrisome. Central banks try to talk that down, to talk that problem down, but possibly it stays a couple of months, and hopefully not too long. Hopefully they are still right. However, the same problem occurs in Poland, and you got the CPI core inflation data and percentages in direction 3.8% and above. So this stays in correspondence with the problems we have with a very, very low interest rate. So-called WIBOR right now is 0.21, and will be, so the Central Bank of Poland tells us, will be the next year and in 2022 and 2023 as well. So 0.21 is almost nothing, and almost the same like nothing we have, and it's just a little bit more, but it's not enough to avoid that money is burning into out of your pockets, and because just of inflation is melting that kind of money slowly but kind of steady away. So this is a part of it. The so-called trade setup is just technical stuff. I served you with that kind of fundamental data as well. Try to pick up something. It's nothing like an advice, just to pick up this kind of overbought territory on the daily one. If you are have your if you have patience enough, you find something like a possible setup even on a weekly basis. So when the RSI, for example, is at shy of the mark of 70 or 72 on the weekly basis, that's kind of a better invitation for you if you think about shorting that kind of an exotic currency pair. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching this clip, and as I always tell you at the end of this clip again, just leave some thumbs up, and if you like to check out this little hook here down here, and you will be a member of this channel as well. Thank you very much. Have a great and relaxing weekend and a couple of good trades running into the next week. Thank you very much. Bye bye.